It's Bo the Big Black Bastard. Greetings, friends, and mostly enemies. Welcome back to Garden, or as it's quickly known, my YouTube channel. Today, we are jumping into the quagmire that is the conversation around diversity in books. Diversity in publishing, diversity in the literary world, in all of its facets, forms, shapes, and anal retentive genuflecting. I was, of course, brought into this conversation by the good people over at the YouTube algorithm, who decided to bless my suggested feed with a video about diversity in books by the channel Sami and Books. Go check him out and watch his video on diversity, because that is what I am going to be breaking off of to add to the conversation. And that video is kind of a jumping off point. I will be directly referencing some of the points he made and rebutting his opinions and assertions about how to deal with the problems of diversity in publishing and what he thinks the solutions are. Spoiler alert, Sami, no disrespect to you, sir, but your solutions are untenable. They're not good ideas. Oh, are you going to go out or not? Don't look at me like that. Now, I want to start off this video and my kind of dialogue with Sami by addressing his point that he makes about conservatives early on in his video. He says he doesn't want conservatives in his comment section. I may have misheard him because of his accent, but I believe he told conservatives to fuck off. And he makes it clear he's only speaking to people who care about diversity in books. Well, sir, I would first say, and he talks about how he wants a good faith conversation. And I would say, sir, generally speaking, when you want to have a good faith conversation, you don't tell half of the people entitled to the conversation to fuck off. That's thing one. Thing two, true diversity includes everyone, and that includes especially people who think differently than you. And by the way, if, people who lean right of center were included in these conversations more often, a lot of the problems that exist wouldn't. So, I would like everyone to keep in mind that I'm not here to pick a fight. I'm not here to personally insult anyone. What I am here to do is to debate ideas. And people are not their ideas. I can say that someone holds a stupid idea without thinking the person is stupid. I can say someone's opinion is stupid without saying that person is stupid. You are not your thoughts. You are not your ideas necessarily. If you want to marry your identity to certain ideas, that is a personal choice, but it does not have to be so. And truly open-minded people do not marry their identity to their ideas, by the way. That's what being an open-minded person is. Being willing to abandon ideas when they're proven to be false or no longer valuable to you or what have you. So with that in mind, let's go forward into this conversation in the true good spirit of a good faith conversation. And let's talk about how you can actually address quality of diversity in writing. So first of all, I want to address one of the earlier points he makes. He makes a point, and he repeats this at several points, that he feels like if you include ethnic or cultural diversity in your writing just to use it as a marketing gimmick, he doesn't like that, and I don't like it either. Me and Sami actually agree on this. If you're not going to do the culture justice, if you're not going to do the people justice, don't write it. Don't do it. Let me repeat that. If you're not going to do your research, if you're not going to make every honest effort to be accurate and authentic and respectful, where respect is due, obviously. I'm not asking you to respect, like there's certain things about certain cultures that do not deserve respect. So, respect where it's due. But if you're not capable or willing to pay respect to other cultures, don't write about them. And to pay respect to them, what you have to do is learn about them, spend your time doing your research, treat that culture and that people's history with the same care you would give something that's important to you. Okay? So, in that, at least me and Sami agree. Now, in his next point, Sami begins talking about how he does not think white people should write any culture or ethnic background that they are not personally tied to. So obviously, a black man cannot be written by a white man kind of thing, or what does a white author know about the struggles of a Chinese woman? That old, tired talking point from people on that side of the aisle. Look, some really great works of fiction depicting people from other cultures, depicting other countries, have come from white authors. The idea that a white man or a white woman cannot write about someone living in a country, in a different culture, and do it justice and be respectful and have it be a good story and accurate to the culture and all that stuff, I reject that idea out of hand. It's a bad idea. It's a stupid idea. It ignores so much proof to the contrary. It has to seek out examples. It has to cherry pick examples in literature to support itself and ignore all the other literature around it. And it ignores the capacity of human beings to exercise empathy. When you exercise your empathy, you think about other people's lives and the way they feel about things. And you use your own experiences and your own feelings to try to create, a bridge of understanding. Well, this happened to them. That's kind of like this thing that happened to me. I think I kind of know how they feel. And you create a dialogue from there. That's what empathy is. How are different cultures and different races supposed to have an empathetic dialogue where they bridge understanding if we are not allowed to communicate? And one of the most effective ways to communicate is telling stories. It always has been. So, the idea that you can't tell a story if you're not from that culture, if you're not from that race, I reject that. A point that Sami stresses a bunch is that what he really cares about is proper art, well done art. And of course, in this context, he means the art of writing. And you do not get better art by discouraging one group of people from creating art. You do not get better art by punishing people who are trying to exercise their sense of empathy. Sami repeatedly makes the assertion that if you are a white author who is writing other cultures, your book is either a marketing gimmick or it's going to suck. And I as you might guess, I reject that out of hand. It's just not true. And I've made no secret about it. I wish I could rattle off, a dozen examples right now. But I'm just not the most well-read person. I've made no secret about the fact that I'm kind of the misfit of author in booktube in that I'm not super well-read. But I know they exist. So it's an incredibly lazy assertion to make. Now, something where Sami really, really misses the mark, and perhaps his greatest misdirection in advice to his viewers and the community at large. He talks about whitewashing and stylized fiction, you know, stuff that's tailored by publishers in Hollywood to be palatable towards the American audience. And he says that you shouldn't buy authors that put stuff out like that. And, sir, what you have to realize is that a lot of the time it's not the authors doing that. A lot of the time it's the editors at the big five houses. It's Hollywood producers and directors, film executives, the gatekeepers, the people who carefully trim and poke and prod every last little piece of art that gets created by the industrial machine so that it's exactly the right Americanized flavor of whatever culture is being represented so that it will sell the most copies. Your issues with the gatekeepers, Sami, not authors. Most authors, well, I won't say most, a good chunk of authors who write other cultures and other ethnicities, especially in this day and age, are genuinely trying to be respectful. Now look, we've all read a racist depiction, we've all read a lazy depiction, but these days I genuinely think most people are trying to get it right. We are growing and improving as people on a global scale over time. Your problem is with gatekeepers who constantly try to whitewash and stylize things because they think that's what the public wants. When in reality, the public only wants those things because they've been fed a steady diet of it, culturally speaking, for the last 100 years, and they don't know anything else. If the American people had not used their wallets to invest in these corporate machines that evolved into what they are early on, and of course, when we started using our wallets to vote in that way, we had no idea what we were doing, because the birth of American culture was something that just exploded exponentially. No one really knew where it was going. But it's not something that happened deliberately. This whitewashing of stories, this American stylization of stories. It's something that evolved naturally. And I'm not saying that means it's a good thing. Not all things that happen naturally are necessarily good. In fact, most of the time, things that happen naturally are amoral. But it's unfair to put that blame in the hands of writers specifically. And the solution is not just buying from authors who have more melanin than other authors. And the solution is not specifically buying own voice literature. You know, if you want to read own voice literature, Sami, you should go pick up my book, because I'm an own voice author where issues of mental illness are concerned. My protagonist is crazy. Roughly half my characters are some degree of crazy. And I'm somewhere between mildly and wildly insane. Does because I'm an own voice author mean you'll like my book? Well, you probably would like my book. You read a lot of fantasy. You'd probably love my book. But it not because I'm an own voice author. Just because a book is about China and it was written by a Chinese man, that doesn't mean it's going to be good. There's a lot of books that are based in America that are written by white Americans that suck. Own voice isn't a badge of quality. It's a marketing gimmick. So, Sami, in my kind of closing notes here, I don't think you set out to be racist. But a lot of your points reek of thinly failed racism against white people. And I'm not here to bitch about racism against white people. My channel isn't a political channel, and I don't care to get into the subject really. But a lot of your points have that flavor to them. The solution isn't buying from high melanin authors. The solution isn't buying from own voice authors. The solution to the problem of good diversity in fiction, well-written ethnic and cultural diversity in fiction, it's buying from authors who do their research, exercise their empathy, and care about their stories. Real storytellers do these things. There's a big difference between people who try to pump out 20 books a year in right-to-market fashion so they can make a living as an SEO writer, and real storytellers who have something important to say, who want to bridge understanding, who want to further ideas in the cultural dialogue. Those people are storytellers. So, you do not make literature or the literary biosphere better by softly discriminating against white authors. You do it by spending your money on books that are good. Sammy's right. Vote with your wallet. But don't vote for racism. Now, after that cheery final note, just some final closing stuff. Hey guys, the second channel is still up. New clips going up all the time. We also have the new channel, Adventurous Publications. That's where we're going to be doing the live streams from now on. If you haven't went and subscribed, do it. The Saturday shows are, they're getting better. We're actually doing a show map and having hard segments, and the quality's only trending upwards, let me tell you. And of course, if you care about true diversity in fiction, such as diversity of thought and diversity of opinion, go check out The Garden of Lies. Great reviews on Goodreads, because I earned them. Go forth and be well, my friends. And welcome to Garden. Just so you know, Latin people, Mexican people, people of Hispanic origin, do not use the term Latinx. When polled, they overwhelmingly despise that term because the Latin languages are gendered languages, meaning their culture is based on a gendered language. So when you use bullshit inclusive terms like Latinx, you're actually erasing their culture. I know that you aren't familiar with USA culture and the dynamics over here, so that's just a friendly information from me to you, sir.